In the meantime, some very big news in the state of Iowa that could reverberate well beyond Iowa. In case you didn't hear, for Ted Cruz, it's as good news as you could get. He got the blessing of a fellow who, I got to tell you, he is someone that all Republicans try to, well, suck up to, is a good way to explain it. Bob Vander Plaats is the family leader, the president's CEO, and he looks for candidates who speak to evangelical and heartfelt moral issues. He looked and talked to pretty much all the presidential candidates and set his sights on one Ted Cruz as the guy he would be backing this go-around. Now, you might be saying, well, big deal. What does that mean? Well, this is the same fellow who backed Rick Santorum 4 years ago. Rick Santorum won Iowa when no one thought he would. 4 years prior to that, he backed Mike Huckabee when no one thought Huckabee had a chance in Iowa, and he did. So, what does that mean? Well, obviously it means that Mr. Vander Plaats is someone you pay attention to. Not only is he a powerful figure, but apparently he's a man of his word, because last time I had him on, I said, when you do make a decision, I'd like to be your first national television interview, and true to form, I am. Bob Vander Plaats, very good to have you. Thank you.
It's a thrill to be with you, Neil. It's a great day. It's a great day here in the state of Iowa, and we're thrilled to be putting our support behind Senator Ted Cruz.
Why him?
Well, I really believe he has the opportunity to unite conservatives, not only in Iowa, but across this country. He's a man of great principle. He has a titanium spine. I think people see him as a serious leader, someone who's willing to take on both sides of the aisle, but really to cast a vision of bold leadership for this country. And I think that's why you're seeing the uptick in the polls already in Iowa, and we're just hoping to add fuel to that fire.
You might say he might unite conservatives. He's not uniting many others. Say what you will of him. He's a brilliant guy and a very shrewd politician, but he's alienated many in the mainstream part of the party. And I know you look for those who might be able to reach across divides. He has not done that, and maybe that's not his fault, but others like John McCain have had their tussles with him. Mainstreamers have had their tussles with him. You worried about that?
I'm not worried about that at all. I think it's a positive for him in this environment. I think the reason you're seeing Donald Trump with such an uptick is because he's tapping into the emotion of the American people. And I think Ted Cruz is doing that very same thing, but providing real solutions to serious issues. And so Ted Cruz is not the guy who's going to go to D.C. to go along, to get along, say, with John McCain and Schumer and others, but he's going to go to Washington, D.C. to make a difference, and that's to represent the people of this country. That's what's uniting him around conservatives, or conservatives around him. And I think he's got the opportunity here, Neil, seriously, to go the distance to be our nominee.
Well, that would be different than your two other choices, and I'm wondering how you broke the news to them. Not only Governor Huckabee, the guy you backed in 2008, but Rick Santorum, the guy you backed in 2012.
Well, first of all, I believe in 2008 and 2012, Iowa got it right, and I think the country got it wrong. I think Huckabee would have been better against McCain, and Santorum would have been better against Romney. Governor Huckabee and I visited this morning. Senator Santorum and I visited yesterday afternoon. We remain very good friends. They know the process. Of course they're disappointed. And quite frankly, it's disappointing to break them the news because they are such good friends. But they know the process we use. They know the assessment that we have.
Well, what was your criteria? The reason why I asked about criteria, because you mentioned polls that make, Cruz has surged here, certainly. But in the case of those other two gentlemen in prior years, they were not surging. They were nowhere. So why Cruz? Why now? Many would say, well, you were seizing on the inevitable. It looks like Cruz has a good shot at winning this anyway, with or without your help. What made you go to Cruz?
Well, first of all, Senator Cruz is a principled conservative, as I mentioned, a guy with a titanium spine. And two, as Senator Cruz really made this decision, although it was not easy, he made it obvious for us. He is really building the infrastructure not only in Iowa, but well beyond Iowa.
Well, why not Rubio? Why not Senator Rubio, another candidate who's surging? Why not him?
Well, we took a look at Senator Rubio, and we like Senator Rubio a lot. We like how he brings it back to the family all the time. But I believe Senator Cruz is the one who's been the most consistent and principled in a very conservative message. And we believe the way he articulates it, the way he's able to debate, say, a Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And again, what he's doing in the early states and beyond, I think he has a chance to be the nominee. And if he's the nominee, I believe you're looking at the next president.
But do you ever worry, though, that the connection and maybe the cachet of Iowa has sort of lost something, maybe some of its luster? Because as you indicated, it didn't help Rick Santorum. It did not help, looking back at it, Mike Huckabee. And we invariably see these first two states split. We saw on the Democratic side with Barack Obama winning Iowa, losing New Hampshire, and then a long protracted struggle. There's every indication that Ted Cruz could win Iowa, maybe lose New Hampshire, maybe pin his hopes on a very strong showing in the SEC primaries, largely Southern, on March 1st, and make a difference there. But how do you know he won't implode and be sort of like a Johnny One-Note like those other guys?
Well, nobody can guarantee that he won't implode, but I think when we take a look at Senator Cruz, I don't see that happening. Matter of fact, Meatloaf says 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Yeah. 2 out of 3 in this case would be really good. Because if you win two out of your first 3 states...
You're the only religious figure I know who's ever quoted Meatloaf.
Who quotes Meatloaf.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Yeah.
That just shows you how well-versed I am, Neil. It's typically really good that they get to be the nominee.
Do you worry about that? You know this. You know what's going on in the Republican Party. You've heard just what's happening in New York State with Donald Trump, where they're trying to kick him off the ballot because he doesn't represent Republican values. There are many who say that since Ted Cruz and Donald Trump seem to get along so fine, they're birds of a feather. They're divisive characters of the party, that the party itself has to settle on a sort of a consensus establishment candidate. Governor Scott Walker this week among those saying, I repeat what I said when I stepped out of the race. We need to rally around an establishment type, I'm paraphrasing here, who has a good shot at taking out Donald Trump. I don't think he was talking about Ted Cruz.
Well, first of all, I think you should ask that question to President McCain or President Romney. The last 2 establishment candidates that we nominated got defeated bad at the ballot box. And when you relate to Iowa, Iowa's nominated the last 4 general election winners, whether it was Bush or Obama. I think Iowa's going to send Cruz off to a victory lane here. And again, I think Cruz is our best chance to defeat Hillary Clinton.
What about the possibility, I'm sorry, we have a slight delay here. Well, the possibility you get to Cleveland and we don't have a nominee, that enough of these guys stay in the race, that, and especially with apportioned voting and delegate awards as the race ensues, and with some states being an exception, Florida comes to mind, that no one has amassed all the delegates needed for the nomination.
Well, again, I think that plays into Senator Cruz's hands. I think he has the resources to go the distance all the way to Cleveland. And I think when you take a look at a candidate that the convention delegates are going to rally around, it's going to be a guy like Ted Cruz. And Donald Trump and Ted Cruz versus, say, the New York State Republican Party, they need to start reading some of their favorability ratings. The people are done with politics as usual, and Cruz definitely represents this is no longer politics as usual. This is about bold and courageous leadership. All
right, very good talking to you about Vander Plaats, I should say, in Des Moines, a very big mover and shaker. And, of course, he moved